All right, welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardin Ellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And I don't know what it is about rappers and Andrew Yang, but they got a thing. They do collaborations like on the daily now. First off, it was DJ. Oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting his name. Who on Monday? DJ who? What was his name again? This is horrible.
MC Jin, I believe.
MC Jin. Yeah, sorry, not DJ.
Well,
yeah.
I believe there was DJ there. DJ Manic as well. It was also
Okay,
there,
it was DJ Manic,
I forgot
MC
it right.
Jin, and now over there in New York City in a packed house. All right, Andrew Yang has totally teamed up with Rich Brian and really brought the house down. This is actually pretty incredible, and I think it actually has a lot to do with how foolish the disconnect is in between polls popularity and what the reality of popularity is, and we can get into that a little bit later. But before we bury the lead, Cody, tell us what's going on.
All right. Oh, yeah. I guess the simplest way, we have an article from Inquisitor, and they put it pretty simple. Andrew Yang makes surprise appearance at Rich Brian concert, which, you know what?
That's
show
an understatement.
Well, I'm going to show my boomerish here. To be frank, I had no idea who Rich Brian was before that. I'm kind of behind when it comes to music anyway. So going through this article, they'll say the Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang has been making headlines for as an Orthodox style, yada yada. Rich, real name Brian Emanuel, is 20 years old but already earned his way into the spotlight with his 2016 song and video, Dat Stick. Reports that Rich learned to rap from YouTube and then received praise from respected rappers like Ghostface Killah and Cameron. Probably saying, okay, cool. That sounds pretty neat, I guess. However, once you get a look at the video of what was actually happening there, this is where it gets a little bit deeper than that. So I skipped to about midway point of this clip when Andrew Yang was brought on stage, mostly because there's a lot of profanity I'm trying to avoid. I'll have the link in the description. It's Andrew. He kills it, man. He's definitely getting really comfortable in front of crowds, especially adoring crowds. But let's see if I can play this. Just listen to the response he gets from this crowd.
Oh, and by the way, this video does no justice currently to the size of that crowd.
Oh, yeah. We'll show that in a second.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're going to give you a shot here, the stadium shot from behind Andrew Yang on stage in a second here, that just shows you really how big this throng, shall we call it, was.
It was a crowded concert. Here we go. I mean, I don't want to. It wasn't Wembley Stadium playing in front of 500,000 people, but as you can see, it was a very well packed, like nightclub almost. It looks like.
Well, and this is
we got 3 stacks of people here, but again, though, so that's the thing, right? But isn't the story here a little bit? I mean, one, it's good exposure for Andrew Yang, but no offense to anybody in that audience, but realistically, how many people in that crowd vote for the Democratic primary candidate? Now, maybe Andrew Yang can change that. I agree. But I'm just saying, realistically, how many do you think
Andrew
were
Yang
planning before?
First off, we've seen multiple news articles that show that Andrew Yang is pulling a Donald Trump in the sense that people that were always politically disengaged are now actually registering for the Democrat Party in order to vote for him. It pains me to say that, but they're pulling people out of the exhausted majority into an actual political class, okay? And it worked for Donald Trump in a lot of areas where people had never voted or were extremely low propensity voters. They were coming out to vote for him. And it looks like Andrew Yang is doing the same thing. But also, this is what I see, okay? I see polling organizations consistently underrating Andrew Yang compared to what you and I see in the streets. And this isn't normal confirmation bias, okay? Go to a Joe Biden concert, nobody's cheering his name. Okay. Yeah, sure. You had a couple of celebrities out there for Hillary Clinton and a couple out there for Bernie Sanders and things like that, but that level of enthusiasm is a level of enthusiasm that probably only Bernie Sanders and Andrew Yang have known, if we're honest with ourselves. Okay. No, sorry. And Donald Trump himself at his rallies. Okay. And the big problem I have with the polls is they're constantly polling landlines and high propensity voters or low propensity voters. And by the way, do you know how many voting cycles you have to go through before we can figure out that you're a low propensity voter? Yeah, 3. And in areas where that might be a 6 to 18 month cycle, that means you literally have to have at least missed 3 presidential elections in order for us to know that you're a low propensity voter, which means you have to be at least 3 presidential elections out of the voting age of 18, which puts you at what? Nearly 30 years old for some of these people. I mean, it's the methodologies are bad because you know what I saw in that crowd? I saw a bunch of kids that were politically savvy enough to recognize Andrew Yang.
Good point.
And then B, start chanting for him. So they're the wizards, the early adopters and the people that are tuning in. And then I saw a stadium full of a bunch of other trapped kids who didn't know who he is, who all of a sudden sense this enthusiasm, saying, whoa, who's Andrew Yang? Why are they chanting for him? Holy crap. And that's the new thing that they're Googling now, okay? And guess what? None of those kids are high or low propensity voters. They probably just barely registered when they got their driver's license. They probably just barely registered at a kiosk in the quad at their community college. They probably just barely registered because at their church group or their faith community, there was somebody doing voter registration. None of those kids are showing up on the rolls of who Emerson's going to call, of who Wall Street Journal's going to call, who NBC is going to call, all of these polls that are from, quote, reputable people that completely botched the 2016 election will not be calling a single kid in that audience. If you were to do an exit poll on every single one of those kids and ask them, have you been called by a major polling organization in order to say whether you support or do not support Andrew Yang? Not a single one of those kids, I guarantee you, would say, oh yeah, I've been called, which means all that enthusiasm of both those early adopters and the enthusiasm that's going to show up in the late adopters in that concert are going completely unrecognized in the system. And this is why I think these polls are absolute shams. You can't tell me Joe Biden could do that. There's no measurable quantifier that could explain that level of enthusiasm that Andrew Yang just experienced at that rap concert. And it's not because he's a rapper. Trust me. It's not because Andrew Yang can, seriously flow with them beats. All right. It's because he's got popularity as exactly what he is, an outsider that has joined the political class. So to me, this is an indictment of polling more than it is a success in public relations. Does that make sense?
Not quite. A little. Well, I disagree with the notion it's an indictment on polling. Here's the thing. Polls are measurements. You can only measure what you're measuring with the scale you have. Now, I would say here's a couple things we can look at, right? One, this is the Q3 and Q2 fundraising numbers for everyone running for president from the Democratic side. We see Bernie Sanders. He actually, before the heart attack, I can't imagine we see another increase Q3 to Q4. It's an aside. Yeah. Elizabeth Warren, she made more money. Pete Buttigieg made less, which is never good when you're running for president. I feel like the quarter you make less money can't be encouraging. Kamala Harris, but the next person down is Andrew Yang. Now, the polls do sort of bear this out, but I want you to look at the money. Now, the money says he's basically right there with Kamala, a little bit behind Pete Buttigieg, but the increase in money he has compared to other candidates is dramatic and no one anything like it. So we're seeing an increase in money coming into the Yang campaign Q2 to Q3. Now, one thing I will say is that you would think people literally opening up their wallet and giving somebody money would lead to a move in the polls. And while he had an absolute massive jump in Q2 to Q3 fundraising, we don't quite see that in the polls. So I do agree. I'm more tepid to say shams the word, but I would say maybe the things they're measuring aren't the right things to measure. Because if a poll is measuring how many people with landlines on our rolls said this, it's not a sham poll. It's just maybe those aren't the best things to be measuring, and we should be measuring something bigger than that.
Look at our last Emerson poll. In the last Emerson poll, which showed Andrew Yang the highest, we dove into their methodologies because they have to publish their methodologies, okay? And we dove in, and what did we find, Cody? Do you remember the percentage that was internet poll versus landline poll? Do you remember? I do. I won't put you on the spot. It was 40%.
Not exactly.
Yeah, there was 40% of internet polling done with secure internet polling, okay, compared to 60% phone inquiries, all right? So they came up with a poll that is a little bit more demonstrative of what we see with our own eyes when we go out into the public and we just, interview 100 people on Sunset Boulevard. I'd say a solid 10% of them heard of Andrew Yang. And they support him and they like him. And they're like, yeah, he's my boy. And so there's no way. And I get that's Los Angeles, but even when we go to other places, we see more enthusiasm in the street than we actually do see in the polls. And I think that speaks more to the methodology. So if Emerson is actually representing what we see with our own eyes anecdotally, and I understand it's anecdotal evidence, okay, it makes me think, okay, maybe it's good that they include 40% internet polls. But also, instead of just dividing between two avenues of communication, such as phone lines, landlines, and possibly even some cell phones, and internet polling, why don't they throw in a third thing? Like, why don't some of these polling organizations just say, oh, yeah, we also did a small sample, from swap meets or from rock concerts or from, there's other things that you can poll, other events you can go to that have a wide swath of age people. Why don't you go to a Jets game and just do an exit poll from random samples of people that are walking out of a Jets game if you want to get a regional poll for New York? There's all kinds of ways in which you can really put your ear to the railroad tracks and know what trains are coming other than by calling people and asking their opinions. It's just outdated. So I look at that video and I see an enthusiasm that could not help but convert into votes on election day. Yes, young people don't vote as much as baby boomers and Gen Xers and the silent generation especially. But you can't tell me he's sitting around 3 or 4% when there's a stadium that big screaming what they're screaming.
No, of course. And again, yeah, I mean, this, we might be a couple of boomers here, but this Rich Brian, he is a very popular artist. We listen to a song. It's pretty good. So, this enthusiasm is real, and I agree. Like I said, I think what we're seeing is almost kind of like what you described, right? It'd be like if I didn't tell you that I went to a Jets game and asked people leaving a Jets game a question. I just said, so Americans think, and it's like, well, was it Americans or the people you talked to? No offense to Jets fans. Andrew Yang's a Jets fan. No offense to Jets fans, but that's a certain crowd. You know what I mean? It's not representative of the entire United
crowd,
States.
Very malicious and
I mean, you couldn't even, but you could not even say that Jets fans, if you polled them leaving a Jets game, are representative of football fans in the state of New York. You know what I mean? There's 3 teams in that state. So
yeah, but there's ways to control for that, and through more diversity of avenues of opinion asking, I believe more in the poll. But I mean, really, is the DNC putting their trust in who they think can win their nomination and beat the existing Republican president in organizations that only called landlines and occasional cell phones, or only called landlines, occasional cell phones, and an email or internet poll that they put together that's probably the most boring thing you ever saw in your life and got no person under the age of 45 to do it?
Well, I do believe there's recently, as far as the last few days, perhaps, a YouGov poll going around that is a more that they are considered a real polling organization that is online. So online poll, you can go online, vote. A lot of people are going online to vote for Andrew Yang.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I agree with that. Like I said, I just think the polls, maybe we need to take them with a bigger grain of salt, or really look into what they say, because they will say we polled 700 people, and they kind of get into a little bit the kind of people they are based on demographic, but not a ton. And then they say it's representative of the U.S. I do think a lot of the time, like I said, anyone who lives in any state or any community can say, oh, yes, the people in one county are not representative of the people in the other. That's pretty much how things work. So it is weird at the polls.
But
they do take some leeways, I think. Well, like you said, I think the leeways they take and the methodology they use excludes this kind of excitement behind a candidate, because they just aren't measuring this. Right now, there's no system for measuring this for a political candidate. So he doesn't show up in their more traditional rubrics they use. I mean, because again, the money's coming.
Traditional rubrics.
The money's coming. He went from 2 million to 10 million. So he basically went 5 times, I believe. Or my math's pretty bad. But you know what I mean? He made considerably gains in the money he raised. He didn't make that up in the polls. Honestly, from quarter 2 to quarter 3, I think he went up like a third of a point, maybe. However, the money's coming in. I mean, he went from 2.8 to over 10. So, like I said, clearly something in the polls they're not measuring some level of excitement here. There's something they're missing, because not only is he making a lot of money, he can show up at a rap concert of an artist he's so hip and young, I don't even know anything about it. I'm too old for it. And he shows up, the place is packed, it's sold out, and they're all screaming his Yang. I mean, I want to go back and see if I can pull that clip up. When they were screaming Andrew Yang, that was crazy. I mean, that was like an entire rap concert. He's bringing down the house. Like, I've never seen anything like that for a politician.
And if I were at the DNC right now, that would completely raise my eyebrows, because multiple times people have called Andrew Yang the king of the internet. They've called Andrew Yang himself has said, I do the internet better than you. And I hate to say it, all you born in 1950s baby boomers, and all you born in before 1964 when the cutoff is for Gen X baby boomers that run from top to bottom the DNC. But you're getting outgamed and outclassed by one of your youngest members in the party, okay? And the internet, when you hear the word the internet, you should just simultaneously put it, just substitute it with the future, okay? Because if you internet better, it means you also do the future better. So you want to be looking at your candidate that does the future better. Like, I hate to say it, okay? because I really, really was. Everybody knows my opinions about the Obama administration and that whole presidency. All right, I was deeply hurt by Obamacare personally. Loathe anything that has to do with that piece of legislation. I view that as the biggest political lie of my career. Okay, however, I do give credit where credit is due, and the DNC did something very smart. When Barack Obama was the up and comer, they saw, dude, this is kind of like the cool candidate of the future. Like, Hillary is kind of like a candidate of the past. Yeah, sure, it's her turn. You know what I'm saying? But they dropped the seniority-based leadership model that plagues the Republicans in order to put forward the person that could win, because he was newer, he was hipper. Yeah, he still appealed to the old people. There was tons of people. I mean, there was people that said, I don't dare to go to the booth and not vote for America's first black president. So trust me, he was appealing to the old people as well. But dude, he had a fire in the belly of the youth that made for a much broader coalition. The Obama coalition was one of the broadest coalitions the DNC has ever seen. It was so broad that when he started his own super PAC, what is it? Something for America. I can't remember. What's the name of the super PAC that Obama started?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, he started a super PAC that's so successful, people stopped donating to the Democrat Party, and they started, I think it's called Progress for America. They started donating to Obama's group instead. He actually kind of left him nearly bankrupt because he was so successful in DNC politics because of the broadness of his coalition. So now you have a chance to look at a candidate of the future or to look at a candidate of the past. What do you see in Bernie Sanders, Cody? Candidate of the future, candidate of the past?
Bernie is a weird one for that, because he's kind of, he was the candidate of the future for the Democrats, I think, up until about 2016, and now he's kind of becoming the candidate of the now for Democrats. You know what I mean? He's kind of like what the Democratic Party is becoming has been what Bernie's been talking about for years.
So what Cody means...
He's a tough example, I would say. He's because he is kind of in the middle. Okay. You know what I mean? He's kind of in that middle spot. He's not, I think, but he is rapidly approaching the past of the Democratic Party. I agree.
Yes. So apparently, to Cody, 1920 socialism is futurism in the DNC. But anyway, no, I'm just kidding with you, Cody. But okay, nobody sees the future in Bernie Sanders. Okay, maybe a potential for the present. Or they definitely thought of him as futurist in 2016, because that's what socialism does, is it constantly rebrands itself as something new, and it's actually very old. And then like Elizabeth Warren, no, nobody's seeing futurism in Warren. They saw an interesting character that they thought was a tough fighter against corruption and financial irresponsibility on behalf of the wealthy in defense of the poor. That's what she was throughout the Obama years, and then even up until about 2 months ago, before she became a serious contender for the presidential election. Then she just forgot all about that and became just another sellout. So I don't think people see in Biden, in Warren, or in Sanders a candidate of the future like they saw in Barack Obama. And name anybody else that can really hold that torch. Maybe Marianne Williamson? Okay. But even she's complaining that they keep lambasting her as the Orb Gang person. Maybe Tulsi Gabbard in terms of temperament, yeah, but not in terms of revolutionary ideas. There's only one guy on the DNC side that truly has a revolutionary idea, and that's Andrew Yang. So this just goes to show why the DNC is so foolish. The lessons they learned of success from Barack Obama, they are not implementing. Yet they continue to implement the corruption and the silencing and the cronyism that led to the ousting of Bernie Sanders as the DNC nominee in 2016. It's an absolute indictment of how they do business over there, and actually a little bit frustrating, I think, for members of the Yang Gang, because now you're not just fighting the people on the other side of the aisle, trying to educate them about, UBI, democracy dollars, so on and so forth. But now you have to worry about getting, lambasted by the dude behind you.
To me, man, I honestly don't know the answer. What does it mean when a viral social media rap star with, I believe he has 1.5 million subscribers on an official YouTube channel. What does it mean when someone like that brings a presidential candidate out on stage and he gets like this level of response and feedback? Like, what does that mean? I mean,
that is gnarly.
I'm trying to find they're chanting his name again, but like, Honestly, man.
Look, it only took a couple of those cheers to work.
But hold on. Like I said, man, I don't know if we know the answer to the question of what does that actually mean for someone running for president. Have we seen stuff like this before? I don't think we've ever seen something quite like this.
Kind of in Trump, the whole celebrity thing.
No. But I mean, like,
but he was already a celebrity.
Like I said, Andrew Yang is, like I said, I wasn't cool enough to know about this guy. And Andrew Yang is showing up at a nightclub, middle of the night, packed full of people. This is midnight Eastern, I believe. So like I said, it's a nightclub, middle of the night, New York City show. I think it's New York City. Club's absolutely packed. It's 3 stories high, and you have people standing on all 3 stories shoulder to shoulder. And Andrew Yang shows up, and the entire place is cheering for him. What does that mean when you're running for president? I don't think we actually have the answer to that quite. You know what? Andrew Yang will answer that question for us. What does this mean when you run for president? Because right now, I don't know. I think it's good. The money's going up. The polls aren't moving, but the money's moving. The interest is moving. People definitely know about him more. This is good exposure. But seriously, man, like, what does this actually mean when you run for president, especially in a primary?
I think you are very wise when you say voting day is really what's going to tell us how much of an impact this makes, how well you do the internet, how well interneting translates into voting, okay? And big shout out to Rich Brian. You guys think that I'm carding the Boober King. Cody the Oracle was not clairvoyant enough to even know who Rich Brian was on. Dude, we had to look this brother up.
Well, like I said, man, the only reason why I call you a boomer is because I know I'm like a boomer. Yeah. So I'm like, if I'm a boomer, you gotta be boomer too. We gotta both be boomers. Well, dude, I had no idea this guy was.
Can you pull up the video even without playing it because it's got a lot of swear words?
Honestly, I can't. No, there's the video is things that will get us demonetized on YouTube as well. I'll have the link in the description. Go check it out. I think it's pretty cool. A little side note: I believe he recorded the song at like 16 and then directed the music video as well. So shout out to the guy. Very cool guy.
He uploads a self-produced song to SoundCloud, gets 1.5 million downloads.
Well, I don't know how many downloads it got, but it went gold. So.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it went gold. Got certified gold. The whole 9 yards. So now the dude's 20 years old, and he's a straight up recording artist that is selling out amphitheaters like this and then inviting presidential candidates up on the stage. Like, that is the power of the internet. That's the transformation that the internet can have on an individual's life. You can't tell me that it couldn't have that kind of transformation on a candidate's life if you let it, and if that voting were able to match the enthusiasm that you saw on stage. So anyway.
One little side note, however, while I do believe Rich Brian does support Andrew Yang, as he mentioned in the video, he's from Indonesia, so he unfortunately cannot vote for Andrew Yang, but that's a big endorsement.
Yeah, I don't know. If you got, a solid 10, 20,000 people just to see your guy, I think your one lost vote just got replaced by, if even 1% of those people do it, you got another 500, right? So
I don't know if it was 10,000, 20,000. I think it's a couple thousand. It looks like a nightclub.
But look, I enjoy my hyperbole, okay? All right? Just let me have
that.
Is
it the WWE numbers? Yeah. 5 times the capacity tonight.
Hey, look, you have your segment how WWE is just like politics, and Andrew Yang himself says that pro wrestling is a sport that is most indeed like the American political sphere. So, I'm sorry. Those numbers were conservative. It was 50,000. There were 50,000 people saying yeah.
Conservative 50,000.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If anyone can do the the count the beans thing you had to do at like elementary school, where it was like, oh, how many beans are in the jar? Tell me how many people that is. It's a lot. I don't know how many, but it's a lot, man. It looks like a packed nightclub in New York City. It looks like a lot of people. So
that's funny. So,
but again, I don't know about you, but I don't know what you think. But again, that's my last little thought on this. Is just, I don't know if we exactly have seen a campaign run like this before. I don't know if we have the answer for what this actually means yet, because it is a lot of people. I mean, it basically became an impromptu Andrew Yang rally out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'll post a link to the full video. You got to see the way he walked on stage like he owned it. He took the mic. He is very confident in front of a crowd now. It means something. I just don't know what it means yet. I can't base it off anything I've seen in the past. It's really something kind of phenomenal, I guess.
Yeah, so Rich Brian, if you're listening, you can make an intro for our show. Please keep it, to 3 to 5 seconds, but we'll definitely play it. And Andrew Yang, you want to come on the show and you want to give a shout out to Rich Brian, that's fine too. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. If you haven't liked the video yet, please make sure you like. It helps us out a ton. And follow us on Twitch tonight. Join us in the chat and join us for the live stream. Shout out to Stephen Lynn, who gave us a super chat in the video that was premiered earlier this morning. But we apologize, man. For some reason, I couldn't type back. There was some kind of glitch in this video, and I don't know if it had to do with login information on my laptop or whatever, but I wasn't able to participate in the chat. So we saw that you super chat us a question. We're going to hit you up with an answer on Twitch this evening, my man. Other than that, make sure you join us on Twitch with a sub if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, or contribute to the channel with a PayPal link that is in the description. This is Problem Solver Politics. We will see you guys in the next video.